Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. The topic of this 10-minute moan is this new labelling that people are starting to talk about on our food, where it tells you you've got a daily carbon allowance. Not a recommendation, not like, your calories, where everybody knows it's like 2,500 a day is recommended, and if you want to lose weight it's like 1,500. These are recommendations. But these carbon allowances are not recommendations. It says quite clearly on the labels that are starting to show up that we have a daily allowance. And that is actually quite spooky. The other thing I thought was bizarre in the photographs you seen was the carbon amount of your food. It's actually a bigger thing and more prominent than the nutrition values on our food. Now, a lot of people think, that doesn't really mean anything. Well, it does. It is massive because, one, it is not a recommendation, it's a daily allowance. Set by who and set at what? And why? Now, if you want to buy into the climate issues that we're getting spouted all the time, and you believe that food, or food production more likely, is a big contributor to that, then go and do something about the trucks, or about how it's transported, or about how it's manufactured. You cannot, in a normal world, start telling people, the consumer, that they've got a daily allowance of food. This is just like rationing, which made sense at the time because we didn't have enough. But we do have a lot of food. But a lot of food gets sent overseas. We don't get to consume it. And we do need to help our farmers. That's just, a simple thing. If you don't understand that, you don't understand basic economics. That, we kind of want to make more things than we import. That's what makes countries rich. But if there are genuine, and I question how genuine these concerns are for the carbon issue, I think it's been over-egged by lots of people for their own nefarious reasons, and we can get into that in more detail in a different video. But when if you're going to buy into this, you can't ration your people. And one of the other things that's used to be a tinfoil hat topic is the digital ID, and people concerned that these two things could be connected. Well, it could be connected very, very easy, because it's the only way you could monitor it, couldn't you? That you had some sort of digital ID that when you bought food, whether that was in a supermarket or in a restaurant, you would have your allowance tallied up. And it's no lost on me the timing of these things becoming public about digital IDs and your carbon input in your food, for God's sake. So what's next? Is it the cars? Do we restrict that? Do we have an allowance for that? And we've seen people for years now suggest that things like travel could be rationed as well. And you can't ignore these things anymore. Nobody should be ignoring these things anymore, because I can't believe it's a peacock over my shoulder. You see it? Wonder if he's used his carbon allowance by walking across the road. Behind me is Glasgow Sheriff Co-op, one of Europe's busiest courts. And because of that fact, we'll see every week several members of the public and podcasters, etc., facing trials in here for a number of things. However, an increase in number are for posts on social media, videos on YouTube, etc., etc., etc. And for that reason and that reason alone, I believe it would make sense for everybody who does podcasts as a minimum to join the Free Speech Union, because they will help protect you when the law turns on you. That doesn't give you carte blanche to say what you want as a member, but it does give you the protection to help you when the law goes wrong. This is not now only something that should be considered by podcasters, because we are seeing more and more people each day arrested. Normal people who don't even see themselves as civilian journalists, arrested for posts on social media. So it makes sense to join the Free Speech Union, because we live in this country in 2025. But that's how ridiculous it can become. And once digital ID's in, that's the sort of biggest factor in all these things. Because as soon as that's in, then all these things become controllable. You kind of need the digital ID to have all these things with restrictions on what you can eat, where you can go, how you get there. And you just need to look for China to see how ridiculous that is, that some people are not allowed to go places because they've used up their carbon allowances. And that's not the society I want. But what's even stranger to me is, it's not just one country deciding to do this. It seems to be loads of countries all over the world wanting to do the same things at roughly the same time. And that's not coincidence. That's far from coincidence. And in the UK, these carbon allowances for food, these haven't just been spoke about since July last year, when this decrepit Labour government took over. These things have been in discussion for years. I can see mention as far back as about 15 years ago. So it's right across the board. So the problem isn't our politicians that somehow, miraculously, buy into these policies, that just come into across the world. It doesn't matter whether it's Labour or Tory. It's any of them who are into this sort of, bigger picture globalism. And that's where the problem lies. The British people wanted Britain to look after Britain. That's why the Brexit vote won, because that's kind of what people were buying into. And now what we see is so many examples of globalisation, far bigger than the EU. The EU are pretty bad and a big component in this globalisation. But it didn't stop when we get Brexit. In fact, we didn't get Brexit. We never got the Brexit the British people voted for, so that's probably a stupid statement. But do you understand what I'm saying here? Countries all over the world, miraculously, have the same ideas, all at the same time. Whether it's carbon footprint, whether it's digital ID, whether it's the transgender narratives, whether it's unlimited immigration, all these things, all miraculously happen at the same time in what are meant to be independent governments all over the world. And the only way you can stop this is by changing the types of people we vote for. Because it doesn't matter if you're traditionally red or blue. They're both buying into this nonsense. And just spin it slightly different to us. Because this carbon allowance for food isn't just new since we got a change of government. The previous government were setting the things for this years ago. So we need to be concerned, and we need people to become aware. It can't be left to the so-called tinfoil hat wearers to try and educate people. And we need to talk to people in different terms, because what tinfoil hats were doing for a decade or so was just the language and the way they discussed it didn't work. People weren't listening. So we need to sort of change the narrative and how we put these things across to people so the wider general public actually understand it. And fight and fight and fight. And any time you see any stupid comments, whether it's mainstream media or social media, then you need to call it out. Because if you don't, then people are led to believe one narrative. And we need to show them what's going on in a bigger picture here. So if you've not already done so, and if you want others to see this video, hit the like, hit the share, and put some comments in. If you're not already done so, or you actually think you already are subscribed to the channel, please double check. And if you're not, hit the subscribe button. But more important than all that, unless you're the type of person that buys into all these stupid things, the narrative that we're trying to drive on a sort of global scale, yet find stupid ways and try to justify them by saying, oh, this will stop immigration, this will stop illegal work, this will stop whatever. These are just lies and excuses to bring in the stuff that you've always wanted to bring in. So unless you're these people, then not you, but everyone else, have a great day. Cheerio, bye now.